And good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Train Aficionado Live. I almost said the Scanner Guys. Good evening, and welcome to this edition of the show. We are talking about a Railfan's backpack. So that's tonight's presentation. This is actually coming from a blog post that I recently did on trainaficionado.com. So I'm really excited to kind of do the YouTube version of it. So we're going to give you all the essentials that I think you probably could use while you're trackside. And some of these things are very handy, and you may already have some of them. So let's take a look at tonight's presentation right now. So a Railfan's backpack, everything you need trackside. So make sure you subscribe now to the channel. Since you're on YouTube, make sure you do that right now and subscribe to Train Aficionado on YouTube. We're also on Instagram and Facebook at Train Aficionado as well. And then don't forget to check out the website, trainaficionado.com. So let's take a look at some of the essentials that you need for a Railfan backpack. So if you don't already own one, I highly recommend getting one. Backpack is very important. You want to make sure that you have a good number of compartments to put your gear. I suggest looking for one with 2 deep external water bottle pockets. As you can see on this LL Bean one, you can see one on the left side there. These are very handy for putting in that water bottle in there, and then you can use the other one to hold your scanner. Also, probably think about getting one that has a couple of compartments. The one photographed here, of course, has a larger rear compartment and then a smaller front compartment, and then it has another compartment to store pens, maybe a notepad, a few other things if you wish, and then, of course, there's a smaller compartment in the front, which you can also store some smaller things as well. And then you're able to sort these things out having multiple compartments. I'm a huge fan of the LL Bean backpacks. They're usually rugged and built really well. They are a bit pricey, but they'll last for years and years and years. You'll definitely get your money's worth out of it. As you see here, you know, this one has lots of compartments. It actually has on the back of it, going across diagonally, is a reflective strip there, so if you were walking, the light would reflect off that as well. But I use those side water bottle pockets all the time. I'll put my water bottle in one and then my scanner in the other. So it allows you to be able to grab this bag and go. So backpack is definitely essential. Let's take a look at the next thing you should probably consider. Binoculars. Many of you, when you're trackside, oftentimes you're not right up at the signal. So it may be further down the tracks, and, you know, in order to be able to see it, you know, you would have to trespass, which we don't want you to do. So I would recommend getting a good pair of binoculars. And I also recommend, you know, getting one with a carrying case included. So this will allow you to protect those binoculars. Many of those outdoor stores actually do have them. A lot of times you can get them on sale during Black Friday or during the holidays, or they'll run some random sales on them as well. So definitely check out any of those outdoor stores that are near you. You can usually get a pretty decent deal on binoculars, and they work great. I mean, being able to see that signal, you know, from your vantage point, or being able to see what's going on down the tracks, I've used them all the time. So definitely look for, you know, a decent pair of binoculars. And I can't say enough, even though that these binoculars are going into a backpack, I mean, some of these are pretty expensive. So you definitely want to get ones with a carrying case so it has extra protection inside that backpack. A water bottle, especially this time of the year when it's warmer outside, you want to stay hydrated. You want to make sure that you're drinking plenty of water, and this is great you want to make sure that you stick the water bottle inside of that backpack. As I mentioned in the previous slide, you want to choose a backpack that has a number of compartments. Strongly suggest the two deep external water bottle pockets. You can easily slide this water bottle into one of those pockets, and then you have a cool, refreshing drink. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll make up some ice, and I'll load this water bottle full of ice, and then I'll put some water in. So throughout the day, of course, the ice will slowly melt, but it'll keep the water nice and cold. You may want to carry a cooler with some additional water if you're going to be out for an extended period of time, so you have extra water bottles and you can keep loading it in. The great thing about these water bottles, I mean, the Stanley ones, the ice will last, 24, 48 hours. Some out there that'll last 72 hours. So the great thing about it is, you can have a cold, refreshing drink when you're trackside. And you definitely want to stay hydrated during this time of the year. So I would strongly recommend a decent water bottle. We do have one in the Train Aficionado store, which you can purchase through the store at trainaficionado.com. A lot of times people don't think about this. A notepad is always handy. So if you're one of those people that are trying to keep track of the photographs that you're taking and what symbol the train is, you may want to bring a notepad. Write it down real quick, jot that down. The other thing too, when I notice when you go out rail fanning, you'll run into other rail fans. And of course, they will recommend other spots that you haven't even heard of. So you may want to jot down those locations. So a notepad is always handy, doesn't take up very much space. Make sure you get a decent pen or one of those reusable pencils with the replaceable lead. I love those. I don't have to worry about having a pencil sharpener with me, but typically a pen or a retractable pencil and a notepad. It certainly makes a great thing, if you're jotting down some notes or you wanted to, keep track of the train symbols that you've seen. So when you do later on post your photos, you can post them with the train symbols. So notepad is definitely key. A lot of people don't think about this, but when you're out and about and you're rail fanning with some buddies, I would strongly recommend getting some of these talkabouts, these FRS radios. They're affordable two-way radios, and they're a smart choice. They're compact, budget-friendly, and typically run on AA batteries. And there's about 22 channels in the radio. They're FRS channels, so they're low-powered family radio service is what it goes by. It's in the 462 or 467 megahertz. And these radios are great for short distance. I mean, maybe you're in one location and the other person's across the tracks, or, maybe slightly down the right of way. You're able to communicate with each other. And a lot of times these radios are programmed the same exact way. So let's say we have the Uniden brand here, but let's say your friend's got the Motorola radio brand. He says to switch to channel 5. You go to channel 5 on that radio, and then if you do have a PL tone programmed in, you make sure you both have the same PL tone programmed in. And then this will allow you to communicate with each other. And you can have, everybody could have one of these radios, and especially if you're let's say traveling in two separate vehicles from Railfan spot to another. This is very handy to communicate to each other from car to car. It's a lot more convenient than a cell phone. You can just grab the radio, transmit, talk to whoever you need to talk to, and then put it down at your side. So these talkabouts, I've used them throughout the years. Typically, you can get up to a half mile to a full mile. It's all dependent upon the train and your location. If the one person's in a valley, they may not be able to get good reception. So it varies, but coverage up to a mile. But these are small and compact. As I mentioned, they run on AA batteries. The biggest thing that I mention every show a lot of times is the scanner is a valuable tool to be able to listen to those defect detectors or communication in between the dispatcher and the crew. This is very handy, especially for busy locations. Since I'm at the, in Cincinnati, Ohio, there's major yards here, so of course there's a lot of communication in between the dispatcher and the crew. So a lot of times, you will hear a lot of activity on the radio. If you're out in a rural area where there's not a lot of radio chatter, you can always put in the Fred, which is the end of train device, which beeps. So when that's in a close proximity of you, you'll hear on that particular channel the beeping on that particular channel. So you know, oh, it's close, and it's probably within a mile or so. Let's Go Railfanning mentions, a lot of those flaggers that are out there doing traffic details sometimes use that. So definitely make sure you listen to the channel you use before you start transmitting on it. If you do hear activity, select another channel so you're not interfering with their communication. But FRS, GMRS, can be, depending on certain areas, can be busy, sometimes not. For the most part, I don't hear a lot of activity on these channels around me. But if you're by an amusement park or something like that, another time, some stores are using these. There's also MERS radios, which are business radios that don't require a license. I probably would stick with the family band radios. They're usually the most inexpensive, and you can purchase them in a pair as well. So, but going back to the scanner, this is definitely something that you want to carry. It's a great resource. As I mentioned with that backpack, having those deep external water bottle pockets allows you to be able to store the scanner. The other thing that I would recommend with the scanner, and I did not include it in here because we've talked about scanners a lot on the channel, is a carrying case. And usually the carrying case has a rugged belt clip versus the belt clip that comes with the scanner. So I would strongly recommend a carrying case. I use a hard leather case with a swivel belt clip. Works great. Scanners that I use, Trackside, of course, is the Unit and Bearcat BC125AT. And then I also use the Unit and Bearcat BCD160DN, which is the latest and greatest radio. I've been running that radio as my primary. And then if I do need a secondary radio, I'll do the 125AT. But I've been using the 160, and I have the Smiley antenna on there, which we've talked about in past shows. That works awesome. And I highly recommend, this radio. And the great thing about it, it's small and compact, and it'll be able to fit in those water bottle pockets on the side of that backpack. All right, I mentioned two devices that require batteries. Of course, those family band radios require batteries, and also the scanner. So you definitely want to carry some extra batteries with you. Typically, they're AA batteries. I found that those major warehouse club stores tend to have the best prices on batteries. And also, their name brand batteries are not bad. So you don't necessarily have to go with the Duracell or the Energizer. A lot of times, the club brand works pretty well. I'm a Sam's Club member, so Members Mark, I use their batteries. Works great on my scanner. It just works just as well as some of those major name brands. And if you're doing an extended rail fanning trip, you probably want to do, carry a lot of batteries with you. Another tip, when you're not using the family band radios or the scanners over an extended period of time, I highly recommend removing the batteries out of the radio. The good thing about that is if you're storing it for a while, if the batteries do leak, it's not going to leak inside the radio. So Definitely, if you're storing the radio, let's say in the winter months you don't really go out rail fanning, take those AA batteries out of your scanner. Take them out of the family band radios as well. The other thing that I want to mention is maybe there's people that you rail fan regularly with. You may want to designate a channel on those FRS radios that you meet up on. And then they can communicate with you over the radio. They know that channel 21 is the channel that you guys use. So if they see you out rail fanning, up the road or wherever, they could call you on the radio. Hey, I'm right up the next milepost here. And then you guys can communicate to each other if anything's coming your way. So I can't say enough, when you're out rail fanning with others, it certainly makes it a lot of fun. But carry a lot of batteries. Another thing that I recommend is these power bricks. So many people use these for cell phones. Of course, you want to keep your cell phone charged, but you can also use this for powering your scanner as well. Typically, like the 125AT and the 160DN use a cable that has a USB connection. So let's say you exhaust all your batteries, you can actually pull out that cable, plug it into the side of your radio, and then plug it into one of these power bricks and use your radio for the scanner as well. But yeah, the power brick, I typically carry one to charge my cell phone. But I've used this in a pinch to power my radio. If you only have one scanner, and you are traveling in your vehicle or sitting in your vehicle, whenever possible, plug it into your vehicle. If you have the vehicle running or the auxiliary switch on, plug it in, run it off the vehicle power versus the batteries when possible. That's another way to be able to save on those batteries. But yeah, this is a great way to be able to, one, charge your cell phone or any other devices such as, scanners, or just powering them off of the brick as well. A lot of times those big box stores will have sales on these as well. Sometimes the club stores such as BJ's, Costco, and Sam's Club will usually sell this in a 2-pack. So you can have 2 of these power bricks if needed. All right, so the great thing about rail fanning, of course, you're out in the weather. You want to make sure that you probably pack a baseball hat. And, of course, Train Aficionado has those as well. And, certainly we would recommend purchasing one of these, but any cap will do. It's great for blocking the UV rays and protecting your skin from a sunburn, so it's very helpful, especially in your face. You don't really want to get a sunburn there, and when possible, probably protect yourself from that as well, which is great. And we're going to talk about something else that you should probably carry in your bag as well. Moving on, so these SPV Railroad Atlases. These are really cool, and you may want to put one of these in your backpack. It's a very detailed guide to the railroad tracks and railroad network throughout the country. And it's typically broken out by region. They're well known by rail fan enthusiasts. Even they have some of the abandoned lines on there, major junctions. It's certainly a great resource. A lot of times we can pull up some mapping on our smartphone, but sometimes they're kind of hard to see. You may want to carry an actual one of these books. And these books are relatively lightweight. And it's a great resource. So if you're rail fanning somewhere where you're not used to, where things go, where the junctions are and so forth, this is a great resource to be able to do that. And these guides are typically available online. Make sure you price around, because some people have these priced marked up pretty high. So definitely shop around if you're looking for your resource, and make sure that you get the proper one for the region that you're looking for. As you can see here, this is the Great Lakes East Atlas. So if you're looking for a different one in a certain part of the country, make sure you pick up the right one. This is another resource, and you can typically find these at train shows. A lot of times somebody's there selling railroad timetables, and these are typically for the employees, but these are great resource for rail fans. A lot of times you can't get the current edition of these timetables, so you're going to get one that's probably several years old. For the most part, not a lot changes with the railroad right-of-ways, so one of these definitely is handy. The railroad timetables, you'll learn the railroad lines that your rail fanning includes junctions, mileposts, defect detectors, and so much more. It'll even show, the speed, whether it's double track or single track. It'll show the sidings. It's just such a great resource. If you're not able to find a printed one, if you search out Norfolk Southern timetables, CSX timetables, UP timetables, BNSF, and so forth, typically there's a few websites that actually have PDFs of these scanned up. So you're able to download it and, of course, print off the railroad lines that you're rail fanning. I've done that before. And rather than carrying one of these timetables that I purchased, I'll create a little half-inch binder, and I'll put those into that binder. And I'm real dorky. I will actually, timetables that I use fairly often, I will laminate it. So in case I'm out in a rain shower, I can pull it out, look at it, wipe it off if it does get a little bit wet from the rain. And it's certainly really handy. So timetables are definitely something to look for at a train show. You may be able to purchase them online, or if you're not able to find them, you can do a Google search and find it, print it off for free. So these are definitely a great resource. Another thing, the slide right into the backpack. Of course, you can have, the Railroad Atlas and the timetable in there. You got plenty of room in that backpack. Sunscreen and Bug Spray. So especially this time of the year, you want to protect yourself from the UV rays all day long. Even on a cloudy day, you can get a sunburn. So definitely protect yourself with some sunscreen. The spray ones are great because you can just spray it on your arms if you're out rail fanning by yourself, behind your neck and so forth. And usually one of these sunscreen spray bottles will last quite a while. So definitely do that. If you're out and in a woodsy territory or location, you also probably want to bring the bug spray. I know for me, the mosquitoes love me and they chew me up, so I make sure I carry some bug spray as well to be able to ward them off. So definitely, carry some sunscreen or some bug spray. What I recommend doing with these, when you do put them in the backpack, get yourself a box of those gallon freezer bags, and put these in individually into into its own bag, and then seal it shut. In case something happens with the bottle, you're not going to damage everything in your backpack because it's in a Ziploc bag, and you can do one of those gallon size. And I recommend the freezer bags because they're a little thicker, more durable. So definitely do that with the bug spray and sunscreen. The other thing that you may want to carry with you is maybe some hand sanitizer. I've been in some locations where there's a porta potty, to be able to go to the bathroom. But usually the hand sanitizer or soap is out, so you may want to carry some hand sanitizer just to be able to clean off your hands. But that's another thing, in the liquids, such as sunscreen, bug spray, and things like that. And those are some of the basics. I'm sure there's things that you guys can come up with that you could get for your backpack. But we covered quite a bit. So we've got, timetables, railroad atlases, batteries, scanner, binoculars, notepad and pen, water bottle, talkabouts if you're often rail fanning with other people and you want to get perched up in different locations in a relative close proximity of each other. Also that power brick. The other thing that Union Pacific 1943 mentioned is the Open Railway Maps app is great as well. So I highly recommend that. We could do a whole show on apps that you can use rail fanning. That one there is certainly a big one. The Heritage Unit app for, of course, tracking the heritage units and also being able to look up railroad train symbols. That app allows you to be able to look it up and be able to see what the starting point is and the destination of that train and what type of goods they're carrying. So there are several different apps out there, but those are two major ones. So even your smartphone is definitely something that you want to keep in mind when you're rail fanning. The other thing too, I didn't mention that, but maybe an extra cigarette lighter adapter and wall wart for your cell phone and that cable. Have an extra one in your backpack. So let's say somebody pulls the one out of the car, you always have one in your backpack. The other thing that I would recommend is make sure when you do take things out of your backpack, put it back in there. So let's say a friend of yours calls you up, hey, you want to go rail fanning? Yeah. You can grab your backpack. You can rest assured everything is in there that needs to be. Definitely replenish the batteries. I wouldn't bring all 48 batteries with you. Typically that package comes in 48. Yet again, I'm using those freezer Ziploc bags. I'll take a handful at a time, put it in that Ziploc bag so I have that as well. But yeah, I mean, these are all great essentials. The 125 AT, great scanner to use. The SR 30C is a great scanner to use. And then, of course, if you're looking at the BCD 160DN, that's another great radio. So there's several different radios, and there's a lot of older models out there for scanners as well. All great essentials. David, I hope that answers your question. There's a lot of Uniden radios. They vary in price from as little as $100 to $130 to $250. And then, of course, there's radios that are even more money than that. But typically, I wouldn't spend any more than, if you're looking for a scanner for just the railroads and you're looking for NXDN and capability, I would look at the BCD 160DN, but I wouldn't look any further beyond that because you're not going to need trunking or P25 or anything like that. Yeah, the other thing to keep in mind, mentioned about scanner apps on your phone. Keep in mind that wherever that scanner feed originates from is going to pick up the communication there. For a prime example, let's say you're listening to a railroad scanner feed that's in Cincinnati. And I'm about 10 miles north in Hamilton, Ohio. You're only going to be able to hear what's going on in Cincinnati. Remember that the railroad communication is line of sight, so you're going to be able to hear all the activity down there, but you're not going to be able to hear activity that's right next to you in Hamilton. So it's best to have a scanner. The great thing about the scanner feeds is bring your scanner with you, listen to the action in Hamilton. You could also listen to that scanner feed of what's going on in downtown Cincinnati. Maybe you're listening for a particular train symbol leaving the yard there. So you can listen to that for a local feed there, and then, of course, listen to the action on your scanner right where you're standing. So you got to be careful with some of those scanner apps because you're only going to be able to hear what's local to you. Great suggestions by a lot of people watching the program. There is a blog entry on trainaficionado.com if you want to read about a Railfan's backpack. This is kind of the summary video version of it. I've been posting a lot more blog entries there on the website, so definitely check often trainaficionado.com. I'm also working on the Trackside guides that I have there and hope to add some more I know the Altoona page is pretty popular, so I need to do some work on that page for adding more information there. But I know that a lot of people use the Altoona, the Ultimate Rail Fanning Guide to Altoona. There's lots of locations where to rail fan in and around the horseshoe curve. There's also my own timetable that I created with mileposts and locations. I've been trying to keep that up to date as much as possible. Any other questions or comments before we wrap up tonight's program? Of course, the scanner guys will be next week, which will be August the 14th. So definitely tune in to the Scanner Guys show, of course, and then Train Aficionado. We'll be back again on Wednesday, August the 21st. So definitely tune in to the second show this month. Hopefully you find this show helpful, but these are just things I suggested. Your Railfan backpack may have different things in it, but these are things that I wanted to have you consider when creating your go bag. Essentially, it's your go bag. So if whenever you're ready to go rail fanning, you grab your backpack, everything's in there that's needed: binoculars, batteries, talkabouts, scanner. Maybe you leave it right in the pocket of there. You've got your timetables, your atlas, and all that stuff. Make sure, that power brick, if you used it, make sure you charge it up, replenish those batteries. First aid kit is another thing to keep in mind. Let's say you're rail fanning and somebody is with you, falls down, scrapes their knee. The great thing about having a first aid kit, you'll be able to help them out or provide them a Band-Aid or bandages or clean that wound. So that's another great thing. Those first aid kits can typically be bought in the pharmacy section of many of your department stores, and usually they're small and compact. Another thing too with that, if you do have a first aid kit, when you do use some of the bandages and ointment and such, make sure you replenish it. And then if you haven't used that stuff in a while, definitely check the expiration dates on ointment and things like that. So you want to make sure that you keep everything up to date with that. Let me roll through a slide or two, and then we'll wrap up the program. If you do have any last-minute questions, certainly post those in the comments. So make sure, once again, follow, like, and subscribe to the social media, Facebook, Twitter, and then X as well. Since you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We would greatly appreciate that. We're trying to reach 2,000 subscribers, and of course go beyond that. And check the website early and often, trainaficionado.com. We've got the blog there. We've got rail fanning guides. We've got the Train Aficionado store. As you saw, several great products featured, such as our water bottle and also our baseball hats. And we also have t-shirts as well. So definitely shop trainaficionado.com. You can see the store there as well. And thank you for watching this evening's program. Train Aficionado is the website. We always recommend, checking this out. I will be in September in Fonstoria for their Rail Fan Days up there, which is going to be a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to that. Another thing, when possible, Paul Y. mentions when rail fans get into some shaded areas, be aware of your surroundings. There is, a lot of times shady areas. I'm guessing what he means is, where there can be some interesting characters, maybe some homeless people, maybe some suspicious people. Be aware of your surroundings. Make sure that you keep that in mind. If you see unusual activity, try to stay away from it. I mean, of course, there's going to be fools that are out there that are, of course, trespassing or doing some foolish things. If you do see anybody touching anything on railroad property, and you see if they've done anything suspicious, you may want to alert the railroad or may call local police. Typically, at each railroad crossing, there's a blue and white sign. So if you see somebody tampering with something, you may want to call that number. Make sure you give them the number on the sign, which designates the railroad crossing or the nearest location where you're at. and let the dispatcher know that what you've seen, and you just want them to be aware of it. You're out here and you see, unusual activity, somebody tampering with switches or things like that. Just be cautious out there. And then, as a rail fan, set a good example. Do not trespass. Be smart out there. Because the thing is, a lot of time railroads look at us as a positive. We're an extra set of eyes and ears out there. But yeah, just be careful out there. We would greatly appreciate it. Stay hydrated. Let's go rail fanning. Jonathan, we have a premiere on Saturday. Not sure. Are you having a video premiering on your channel? If that's Let's Go Rail Fanning has got a great YouTube channel. So once you've subscribed to this channel, go check out Let's Go Rail Fanning on YouTube. And a lot of the other folks that are on here have some really great YouTube channels as well. Let's Go Rail Fanning a couple weeks ago actually gave us several great rail fanning locations, which have actually made them into blog posts as well. And they are posting throughout the next month or so. So if you're looking for rail fanning destinations, check the blog. Let's Go Rail Fanning. Him and his son actually have sent us photos and great descriptions. So that video that Let's Go Rail Fanning is premiering. It's going to be on Saturday at 7:30, and I'm guessing that's Eastern time. So you may want to subscribe to his channel and check out that video premiere. I guess that's it for me. I thank you so much for watching this evening. Be safe. Have fun out there. And if you're in the Cincinnati, Ohio area, make sure you check out trainaficionado.com/events. I'm posting more and more events throughout the remainder of the year. And we would love to be able to see you trackside. And of course, I'm a member of the Cincinnati Railroad Club. Their website just got relaunched, and there'll be some events that the club is doing as well. So definitely check out that website if you're in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. Thank you so much this evening for watching Train Aficionado Live. I'm Jonathan Higgins, live from our Cincinnati studios. Have a great evening. We'll catch you again soon, right here on the channel.